Welcome, friends, followers, and fellow book lovers. I'm excited to bring this new episode where I share with you a book I've recently read. Today's book is Firehouse Philosophy by Jim Fugate. Why this book? One, Jim is a friend. He has a very good podcast, and it's called Announce. He has decades of leadership experience. So when I saw him post that he was releasing a book, I had to get my hands on it and see what Jim was willing to share or was putting out there to share with other people. And I got to tell you, I was not disappointed at all. So before I jump into that, let me go to the three leadership principles that I pulled out of this book. The first one is situational assessment and decision making. A leader, when they go into a situation, needs to evaluate what it is and then make decisions about that situation. In this case, he shares the story of a lady who did not seem to be a threat that they were going to have to worry about. And she ended up being able to put up a pretty good fight and kind of really just throwing their day off because they let their guard down. Number two is thinking and planning ahead. Every leader, depending on what project they're doing or what their responsibilities are, should be thinking ahead and planning for things to go sideways, things to go perfectly. Isn't it Mike Tyson that said that that plan, and then your plan always goes sideways once you get hit in the face. Like he has a plan for the fight, and he goes in, and he gets punched, and then he's got to, move from there. Because what happens is when we get into a situation, if we don't have ideas of how things can play out or how they can change or work, then what happens is things happen, and what goes on from there, you never know what's going to happen from there because things can get sideways pretty quick. Number three, work to improve the situation. And that can be relationships. It can be the work environment. It can be yourself, because sometimes we're in a pretty bad situation and we really need to work on ourselves. And some of you out there, some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So a couple takeaways from the book. The first is a quote that he put in here by Edward de Bono. An idea that is developed and put into action is more important than an idea that only exists as an idea. And if you have done any kind of work, or you have had any ideas, but you haven't put them into action, then it just exists as an idea. It doesn't become tangible. It doesn't become real. And that's something that as business owners, as leaders in a family, or a church or other organization, you've got to act. You've got to do something. You've got to put it in motion. The second thing I want to share is that being humble enough to acknowledge that you don't fully comprehend and that it is essential to gain a better understanding. It may be the only thing that can help you turn a failure into a success. And in his case, it might save your life. And one of the things that we have to do sometimes is we have to be willing to stop and to look at a situation or an event and evaluate what's going on. Being able to understand. And sometimes that means you got to bring in some outside help. Sometimes you might need to bring in somebody who's an expert in that field or in that technology or in something else that that is adjacent to what you're doing, but you need that input. I've got a business partner who is a contractor. Is an estimator, and he does not have all the knowledge to go out and build out these contracts and these bids he relies on his team to come together. And sometimes what a leader needs is a good team. And sometimes they grow and develop that team, like Steve Jobs did with Apple, what he did with Pixar, and really he let I think it was John Lasseter really kind of do a lot of that heavy lifting. Number 3 takeaway: uh, the content of everyone's personal toolbox is different. Some may be great with people. Some may have extraordinary strength and stamina, physical or emotional. Some are innovators or problem solvers. Others know how to lead. Everyone has at least one tool, and typically many. And all of us can learn to use new tools. One of the things I love about Jim is that he is a man who is willing to learn. He is willing to um, be humble enough and open enough to learn from someone else. And that is another thing that leaders need to be willing to do. And honestly, not in every situation, because remember, everything is different. Every person is different. And sometimes that leader knows what they're doing is right on. And sometimes they might be off. It reminds me of a story about Steve Jobs. As they were developing the icons for the tablets and phones, um, he wanted squares with sharp corners on them. And one of his engineers took him out for said, "Hey, Steve, can we go for a walk?" He walks out and they're talking and everything. And through the talk, what he would do is he'd point out the square signs and show how all the corners were rounded on the design of the street signs. And that was what it took to show Steve that, this is something that we can do, and then it'll make it look nicer, won't be look as sharp. It'll also kind of soften up the image of the apps. And I personally, you guys know probably by now that I'm a bit of an Apple fan. And my notes just crashed. You guys know that I'm a bit of an Apple fan and that I really like a lot of the products. But what I love is that in learning about Steve Jobs' life, in reading his biography and getting some key insights, is I learned of stories like that where he was willing to listen to his engineers and to learn from them. All right, number 4. People take different roads seeking fulfillment and happiness. Just because they're not on your road doesn't mean they've gotten lost. And that's the Dalai Lama. And what I love about that is a philosophy we believe in, and I believe in myself, but also that my organization believes in. And that is, if you're called to be a doctor, be the best doctor you could be. Study your craft, read the papers on, the new surgery techniques, on the new equipment, really become a master of your craft. And everyone is called for a different purpose in this life. You're here to do something amazing that only you can do. I don't know what it is, but I hope that you are seeking that for yourself. And whether that's to be the world's greatest nurse or whether that's to be an entrepreneur and go build something, I firmly believe that it's going to be what you are called to do. Number 5. Forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing: your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. Viktor Frankl. And if you have not read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, hugely recommend you go get that book, okay? Because Viktor Frankl is a survivor of the Nazi concentration camps during World War II. And one of the things that he discovered about himself, is that as long as he controlled his mind and he controlled his responses, then the externalities that he could not control mattered less. Oh, there was discomfort, there was pain. His wife died in the concentration camps. He never got to see her again. But he learned that key concept that you control. I control my reactions, my responses. And sometimes I mess up. Excuse me, guys. I'm a little yawny tonight. All right. So number 6. He leaves gifts that will be remembered by everyone he met. Add to him, and to him there was no stranger. And this is a story about a guy who that he relates in his book, where the guy goes through life just bringing kindness and joy, and he has an open heart, and he's willing to talk to people and to serve them in their own capacity, in their own way, and he ends up having a full life because of this. And one of the things that I really believe in is that you and I can have a full life. But you and I got to go to work. We got to be willing to go and build the person that we need to be, the personality characteristics, the skills, the abilities to be able to have a massive positive impact in people's lives. And what's beautiful about it is you and I do that in our own way because we're unique. As we learn from Kung Fu Panda, what do we learn? We learn that you are the secret sauce, that you're the special that is needed. And for Poe, in that movie, there was something he had that other people didn't. He could still do Kung Fu. He had to do things a little differently because of his size. But ultimately, his size and the panda the weight that he carried was one of his defenses against Tai Lun, the aggressor. So again, the book is Firehouse Philosophy by my friend Jim Fugate. Amazon, get it on Kindle. I think he now has paperback. I highly recommend it. It's a really good read. It's not a very long book, but it's just a good bite-sized sense of Firehouse philosophy. All right, my friends, thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share it. If you're looking for somebody to help you level up your leadership skills and people skills, that's what I do at Turning Leaf Solutions. You can connect with me at turningleafs.com. That's LEAFS.com. And you can also book a free consultation at the link at the bottom of at the center of the main page. It's with Calendly, and we can get on a Zoom, and we can talk about how I can help you and help you to live the life that you've always wanted. Especially if you're stuck in a career, because man, I was stuck there too, and it was painful. So, all right, my friends, I hope you guys go out and make it a great day. I hope you guys go out and make it a great week, and I will talk to you later.